Hi, my name is Darren, and this is my video on why ranked choice voting sucks. And it is the short version. I have a longer version that kind of gets into more details and has a lot more examples um, if you're interested. I basically just have one example in this one here, but um, if you see this example, you'll kind of get the idea. And if you're interested, you can see even more examples. But this video should be about 10 minutes or less, and you'll get the idea of what the problem is with ranked choice voting. Okay, so actually, I lied a bit. Ranked voting doesn't really suck. I actually like it, but the thing of it is instant runoff voting does suck. And the reason I'm calling this video Ranked Choice Voting Sucks is because sadly, they have become one and the same in the political field. Whenever you see an article or a news story talking about ranked voting, they're always talking about the specific variety of it called instant runoff voting. Always. Um, Even though there are many types of ranked voting, the powers that be have settled on this one, and it's really a bad choice. I think they've settled on it just because it's kind of simple and people understand it. And sadly, I think a lot of the people have never really looked at the numbers, crunched the numbers, but they've made a bad choice. They picked one of the worst methods of ranked voting, and that's what they're going with. So here I'm going to show you why instant runoff voting is so bad. Okay. Okay, so the main mistake, the one issue, the huge mistake that instant runoff makes is that with ranked voting, you have a ballot, you rank all the people, and you kind of know who you're picking for first place, second, third, fourth, and all that. Well, the problem is, excuse me, it does not look at the entire voting picture at the same time, which you can do. You could look at the entire picture basically at the same time. In instant runoff voting, it only looks at the first place votes, even though it knows all the information, and then it gets rid of the bottommost candidate of those first place votes. Well, the problem is, and the whole idea of ranked voting is that you want to see, like, do they have secondary support, and with instant runoff voting, if a person has a huge amount of second place votes, but like they have the lowest number of first place votes, you would never know about it because they cut them loose immediately. They just are dismissed right away, and you just don't even really get a good picture of how much support that person had. So here I'm going to show you an example. Okay, so let's have an imaginary Democratic primary with 100 voters. Also, I just want to say, this is just like I kind of picked some names here, and this is just an example. Don't get worried about the specifics. If you want to imagine, switch the names around or use Republicans, like you get the idea. My point here is just like we are not picking the right person. So follow this example and you'll see that happen. Okay, so we've got Liz Warren, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders running in an imaginary primary. 100 voters are deciding who is going to go into the national election. Okay. Liz Warren has the lowest number of votes. She's got 18 first place votes. So she is cut loose. And basically, then you say, okay, who did the Warren people pick second? In this one, it turns out the 18 Liz Warren voters picked Hillary second. So you'll see on the next screen, she gets those votes. Here we go. Liz Warren's votes have been cut. They took those 18 votes and they've now given them to Hillary. So now Hillary is 37 votes. And now Biden is now the lowest in this second round. Biden has 20 votes. So, same thing. Now Biden is going to get cut, and those 20 votes are going to be moved around. But as it turns out, as you'll see on the last screen, Biden's voters actually, their second place choice is Liz Warren. Well, Liz Warren is gone, so they can't vote for Liz Warren. So now, who are Biden's third place choice? And it turns out the Biden voters, their third choice is Hillary. So his 20 votes go to Hillary. And here we go. Final round, we can see Hillary got the 20 votes from Biden. She now has 57 votes, and that puts her past the majority of the 50. So she is the winner. And it seems kind of fair at first glance, But actually, as you look at the screen, you just see like a green bar, and you're like, oh, that's good. But you don't actually see the quality of those votes. So now we're going to look at the final slide is the revealing slide. It's going to show you all the information at the same time, and you'll see like what the actual voting was. Okay, so look, here we are. Now we're looking at all the votes at the same time. You can see down here, this is like the rankings that they did. This is how the people voted. So in other words, 18 people picked Warren for first place, Hillary second, Sanders third place, Biden fourth place. 20 people said Biden first, then Warren, then Hillary, then Sanders. So that's how it goes. These are the actual votes, the ballots that were cast. And you can see here that Liz Warren is absolutely the clear winner of this election. She has nothing but first and second place votes. Uh, beyond her initial 18 first place votes, every other voter picked her as their second place candidate. And then compared to Hillary, we can see Hillary's votes are actually comprised of first, second, third, and fourth place votes. And in fact, her third and fourth place votes are 63% of the voters. So, in other words, 63% of these voters, these Democrat voters, basically did not like Hillary. She's a bad choice to pick as the winner. 100% of the voters like Liz Warren. They either pick her as first or second choice for their candidate. She is an excellent candidate and far and away the clear winner. And there's another ranked method called Condorcet, where that basically you do what they call pairwise matches against each other person that you could do. So what they do is a single match, like Liz Warren versus Biden, who would win? Warren versus Hillary, who would win? Warren versus Sanders, who would win? Hillary versus Biden, who would win? They do every combination of two people that they can do, and they kind of count it up and see who gets the most. And in this case, Warren beats all three of her opponents. If the election was Warren versus Biden, Warren wins. If the election is Warren versus Hillary, these 100 people would pick Warren. These 100 people were picking between Warren and Sanders, Warren wins. And she actually crushes Hillary the worst. Of all those three matchups, Hillary is the biggest beatdown. If 100 people were asked of these people here, would you rather have Warren or Hillary win this election? 81 would say Warren and 19 would say Hillary. It's a crushing, crushing defeat. So from like every standpoint, Warren is clearly the best. And you can see that in the graph here. The graph like simplifies it when you look at all this information at the same time. I also mentioned the other methods of ranked voting here. Like there's a method called Bucklin, there's a method called Borda, and Condorcet I just talked about, and then score voting is also another popular method. Basically, Warren wins every other method except instant runoff voting. And so that just instant runoff is just a poor choice. The bottom line, so that's pretty much it. The bottom line is that instant runoff voting can sometimes help prevent a spoiler. In my other video you can watch, you'll see how in Florida, in the Florida 2000 election, if it had been used, yeah, it probably would have prevented, the spoiler. It would not have ended up being a spoiler, and Al Gore would have won that election instead of George Bush. So it can be good in a national election, but for local elections, for primaries, for situations where you basically have a number of voters that are pretty equally ranked, it will give horrible results a lot of the time. Um, and here's the thing, if you pick your worst candidate in your primary, which it frequently will do, in a lot of instant runoff voting elections, it will not only will it not pick the best, it will literally pick the worst candidate. You can see those examples in my other video. But frequently, like with 3 or 4 or 5 candidates, instant runoff will pick the worst candidate, the one that is liked the least. And if you do that, like, what is the chances that those voters will show up on the election day for president? It's really a bad idea. Essentially, you want to pick the candidate that is liked the best, and then that candidate has got a good chance when they go up in the general election. So that is it. That is why ranked voting is really pretty bad when it's used as the instant runoff method, which sadly is the only method ever being discussed these days. Thanks for listening, and if you want to get more information and more examples, watch the longer version of this video.